All right. Let's get this out of the way first. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on Tailboard Talks Firefighter podcast are solely those of the speakers, guests, and host, and do not in any way represent the thoughts or views or opinions of any other employer, partnership, or sponsor. The material and information in this podcast is for general information purposes only and should be used at the listener's discretion. Why don't you intro us? We got a lot of stuff to talk about this morning.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot to talk about, and I'm going to try to keep myself from laughing because I notice how annoying that is, at least when I listen back. So, welcome back.
You notice how annoying your laughing was?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, I really hope I don't laugh like that a lot.
Is your inside laugh coming outside?
Yeah, it's really... And it's one of those things where you like listen to it and then it's just like replaying in your head for like the next 3 days. And I'm funny. Like, oh my gosh, I need to not. Okay, welcome back to Tailboard Talks.
It's much better.
Firefighter podcast with Chris and of course me, Angie. We have a lot to talk about today, but first, before we get into all of this stuff, we do want to first of all thank our sponsors. Rescue One CBD. If you guys want to help your sleep, get nice and relaxed, you guys can use our code Tailboard, get 15% off of there. Frontline Optics is our newer one. We cannot wait to talk to the owner and kind of see how all that started. You can also use the code Tailboard for 15% off of those awesome sunglasses. I highly recommend the Commanders.
Oh, yeah. How do you like yours?
I'm obsessed.
What did you smash the other day at work?
My old ones.
Your old Frontline ones?
Yeah.
Well, I got good news for you.
Do they replace them?
No questions asked.
Love it.
So
okay, so
new ones. You can get another set of the Commanders are yellow, right?
So
yellow
the Commanders they're like gold.
Yeah, they're very cool.
I really like them. And honestly, they're my favorite. They're awesome. Yeah. As I'm like holding my non-Commander glasses, like I'm pretending
those
like these are
glasses.
them, but no, they're really great. They're my favorite. I love them.
I have so I bought like a 3-pack of the Amazon like knockoff Holbrooks a while ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are awesome. These are my go-to. And then I put on my Frontline ones yesterday for that bike ride. And then I put on what used to be my favorite glasses.
Huge difference.
It's one of those things where like you don't notice how bad the like the regular ones are, the cheap ones are.
Yeah.
I put it on immediately. Like I didn't know they were so wavy.
Right. Like the quality's
looked
obvious.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked terrible. Like looking through it was terrible. So yeah, I sent them a message. I'm like, well, good news. I'm all done with the Amazon fakies. Like you guys are my go-to now.
Yeah,
so
they're great.
Frontline,
they're honestly awesome.
Pretty cool. Cool
No
way it came together.
that.
Cool what they sent us, and then cool that you guys get a discount for getting cool glasses with free replacements.
You guys should probably look into that. And I know like a lot of the people at my department are super into the Pit Vipers, and they do have like a style that looks just like the Pit Vipers.
Okay, they do, and I might get a pair, but only that's like the bike riding style. If you wear those,
not showing up on a scene.
Oh my god, dude! I can't remember. I got into it with a younger guy who selectively wore his Pit Vipers, and I'm like, I'll go buy you glasses right now if you stop wearing those.
It's so funny.
Please stop wearing those.
It's terrible. It looks bad. I'm not going to lie. It does. It looks bad, especially with their giant mustaches. I'm like, all you're really missing, honestly, is a pair of USA shorts and a mullet.
Well, that's the thing is none of those 3 things, and I'm thinking of the third thing, doesn't happen in isolation. It's just such a letdown because you see the Pit Vipers and you're like, crap, they're going to have a dumb mustache and some zins in their back, and then the zin in their pocket too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You can't, or somebody can't
Leonard
just have
Zinnard over here.
Yeah, they can't just have zins and not have a stupid mustache and dumb-looking glasses.
Yeah, it's funny, but
anyways.
Anyways, we have one more buy me a coffee button. Go ahead, go on there, buy us coffee, donate. That would be fantastic.
And I love your mustache and glasses. So yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry if you were about to give $3 to the cause and then I insulted your Pit Vipers and your stupid mustache. And
did we say that? Okay. We actually love them, so...
Yeah, they look really good. You know what? I take it back. Everybody else's looks dumb. Yours looks great.
Right.
Yours looks perfect. All right. We're nearing the end of the 14-ish.
Yes, nearing the end. Today's day 11.
Whatever the date is, yep.
Guess what? Doesn't matter for me, because I failed. I failed the 14-ish.
Might as well be the millionth.
Yeah, seriously.
So I've been doing pretty good. I actually screwed up the first night. Bad planning. Mm-hmm. Because the first was, I can't remember what we were doing. Oh, it was just like a date night. So we had a babysitter over and we went out. So I blew the eating after 8 because dinner was late. Yeah. And also the not drinking because I had a couple drinks. Nothing like significant. It did significantly limit the amount of drinks I had because I was very cognizant of it. I was like, I'm obviously a fraud. Like, I'm telling people not to do this. And within 6 hours, I'm doing it. And then I missed one other workout, and I've been staying strong on no drinking, even though yesterday I wanted one. I told Katie, like, it's a 14-ish for a reason. We can have a couple slip-ups.
Oh, my goodness.
And she told me, just imagine Angie's disapproving face. And I was like, it's no big deal. And then
I am
so I've
disapproving.
been keeping strong on not eating after 8 o'clock and no alcohol. So I've been doing good on that. We also have 2 other people that are.
We have a couple people that
murdering it.
Yeah, I know, and I'm. That is so awesome. I kind of hopped on the no eating after a certain time thing, and I was like going really good with that for most of the time, but then there was just this one shift that I
remember
had
like it was yesterday.
Crawled into the pantry and
Literally.
A shift. I'm really sorry, you guys. Had
a shift? Not just one singular shift?
No, A shift. I know. Okay, so we're black, red, gold shifts. Other places are A, B, C shift. I'm just saying A shift.
Oh, okay.
As in not like the shift. A shift. Shift.
Got it.
Definitely had chicken and a biscuit crackers in their pantry.
That's
and
a good one.
It was done. That was gone. I stood in the pantry shoving my mouth for a good 15 minutes, and it was 8:46. And I was like, I messed this up.
It's a great one to do that with. Also, calorically dense. I'm like, you're not going to find.
I didn't care.
You're not going to find higher values of salt and.
You put chicken and a biscuit, crackers in front of me.
You picked the winner, man.
It's gone.
You picked the winner. If you would have said something like, just something nerdy, like, I ate too many almonds, I'd be like, shut up.
No, I make it worth it.
Yeah, that's good.
I do make it worth it.
That's a good move.
So yeah, I screwed that up. You knew the day I had. I went to bed with a headache, woke up with a headache, and then the entire day it just got worse, and I had this horrid migraine that I was bedridden for essentially the entire day. Who knows?
I know.
Maybe.
Don't.
Oh my gosh, was it after that shift? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, no, it wasn't because it wasn't.
Don't vilify them.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter. I screwed it up. But guess what?
Okay.
I have any day really to start over.
Okay. I did write that down. So I wrote an article years and years and years ago, like a year and a half ago.
It's a really good article.
Like a year and a half ago. And we talked about this before briefly. It was called Any Day is a Good Day for a New Year's Resolution. And what it got into is basically like, don't start something on someone else's schedule or an arbitrary date set by the calendar, because that doesn't mean anything. You have to set what's called a temporal landmark, which is a significant time in your life to do something. And then it'll grab on harder. So like we finished the 14-ish, and then the 15th-ish is my birthday.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I'll be 40.
Oh, my God.
Did you even know that?
No.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm officially almost double your age.
So I'm going to get you all the over-the-hill stuff.
Yeah, but that's when you pick up speed.
Almost double my age.
I know.
I was like, what?
So, like, that's an example of a temporal landmark. Like, March 15th, besides being the Ides of March, watch your back, is not a big deal for anybody. But for me, that's like okay, when I turn 40, I'll start doing this. And I'm not, because I still think I'm like 24-ish, maybe 28-ish.
You look it.
I appreciate you lying with a straight face.
You're welcome.
But temporal landmarks are things that mean stuff to you. So like as soon as I'm done with school, or as soon as this, or my birthday, or this anniversary, or whatever, those dates are the ones to start making changes on. Just saying January 1st or Christmas or anything like that doesn't.
No.
It doesn't matter.
I choose
it's not
leap
gonna
year.
Hold. The other thing, what?
I choose leap year.
Great. The other thing that they did a study, and they said that when you have to write down 2 things, you have to write down what you're trying to stop doing. So they use it with smokers. Write down what you're stopped doing and how you feel now. And then after a little bit of time, you write down how those things are different. Like, I'm not out of breath as often, or I don't spend this much money. So you have a direct written down contrast of what you did not like about that thing and how it's better now. And you keep adding to the better list. And every time you feel like you're going to like go have a smoke or go do something you don't want to, or you're not supposed to, you go back and refer to that list and add one more positive thing on. And then you're like, okay, this clearly outweighs the bad habit. So those 2 things. Now, whenever you're ready, and that's the beauty of the 14-ish, you can try it You can
Yeah.
do something goofier, like
Well,
whatever hard or
yeah. I mean, it's
too much restrictive.
Yeah.
But it's up to you. It's up to you to start. And that's why a lot of personal trainers who are worth it, they ask a bunch of questions at the beginning, like, why do you want to do this, or why now, or whatever. And depending on the answers that the client gives, it might be like, well, I think you should call me back in like 6 months. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like people who are just selling garbage who are like, yeah, I'll take you on any time, and if it doesn't work, it's your fault, and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So
awesome.
So that's going on.
All the people who are doing it. First of all, thank you guys for the ones who's actually been participating in this. I think that it's great, and I hope that it's helping you guys out in anything. And if you guys messed anything any days up, it's okay. I mean, you're not supposed to be perfect, and that's what I think is what the 14-ish is about. I think that's the ish part. Mm-hmm. Let's be more realistic. You can't control things that come up sometimes during the day. Life gets busy. I had a migraine. I was bedridden, and I had a fat appetite at one point.
How come I had a fat appetite? All right, I'm tired of excuses. This is like when I was telling my sob story about the bike race, and you're like, okay, I'm all done with all these reasons why you didn't do this.
Well, that was just frustrating I don't know, that was frustrating.
Yeah. I feel like you were going to transition to something else.
I was, but first I realized that I really want to touch base on NFA, FEMA canceling all the NFA classes.
Touch base on it.
We're just going to touch base, meaning we're not going to say certain things we want to say, but I think that this is a really tough time right now with things trickling down that we may not have thought would trickle down to us, but now we're mm-hmm. having a direct hit. And I'm sad about it. And I'm sad for a lot of reasons and a lot of things. And so I think our goal here really is to encourage you guys and crews to continuously look for other ways to get your training in, whether that be through FRSI has online classes. You can do certs. I know that's not always great. Online is not always great, but it is still a thing that can supplement training, especially with maybe hose advancement or water mapping. I think you can definitely do things like that in your station. There's other conferences going around. Unfortunately, I understand NFA, from my understanding, is very hard to get into. You have to write a letter onto why you deserve to be in this class or why you need it, or it can take weeks, months, years to get into these classes, and they're all paid for. And I know there are a lot of departments who may not be able to pay for training for their crews. But also I do think that there's partially, like I had said prior to us starting this, is I think that you should invest in yourself and in your job and your training. I don't think it's always your department's responsibility to pay for everything. And I think that shows passion and character about the person and how they want to grow. And so there are other conferences that are going on that aren't, an arm and a leg. There's one in Pensacola Beach that I went to. It was County Fire Tactics, Water on the Fire Conference. That was amazing. They have one coming up in November. It's 5 days. And there's actually a spouse's pass for it too, which is great. So you can actually bring the family along, and they basically get like free paddle boards, free umbrellas, bloodies, mimosas in the morning and stuff. So that's kind of a good option. And I'm sure there's plenty of other conferences. I think
there are.
I mean, there's so many. You just got to do your research and don't.
It is. I think a lot of people are just frustrated though.
I don't blame them.
Here's what we both noticed, and we all know, is that people don't get frustrated necessarily at the rules. Like they get it, and some rules are goofy, but you know them, right?
Yeah.
People get frustrated when the rules change. And that's one of the harder things to deal with, was like, you told me I could go down this path, and I'm going down that path, and now you're telling me that path isn't there anymore, or it's different, or it's more of a hassle, or it's more work. And that's where I think a lot of frustration comes in. And I think it's also a thing where, for a long time, I mean, we've always said, like, well, how much is, on a smaller scale, like the chief, like, if the chief makes a change, how much is that really going to affect my daily operations? There's very few things that the chief actually changes that really you feel on the ground level, right? Uniforms and stuff like that, of course, is one of those things. But day-to-day stuff, even budget stuff, like, doesn't really hit you too hard.
Right.
The higher offices in the country are even more separate, especially for our little field where it's like even more isolated from all kinds of things that are so volatile. But now we have this situation where we're getting touched, and it's frustrating and confusing. But I think my call to action for you guys is that this wasn't a thing before. You could joke about politics and you could screw around and you can hit each other a little bit, and everybody gets along because none of it really affects anybody else that deeply in terms of you guys wearing blue shirts and getting the job done. Now it's starting to affect us. And so now, unfortunately, and I say that because I run a pretty rowdy crew and station, now we got to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And now we have to police ourselves and make sure that the decisions of the higher ups, be it the country, NFA, FEMA, your department, your city council, those don't bleed into frustration and resentment and trouble with your crew. Yeah. And that's why you get paid the officer money, and that's why you rose your hand and said, I want to be in charge and mitigate issues. These are the issues that you got to mitigate. So It might be easier for some crews, harder for some crews. It might be something you don't want to deal with. It may be something that you can brush off easily. I'm going to ask you not to, and I'm asking you just keep an eye on what's going on as an officer. And you might have to have a couple of those uncomfortable conversations and reel people back in, and some people might not like you at the end of it, but that's your job. Now, from the blue shirt perspective, that'd be you. Mm-hmm. How do you see this whole thing going? Like, do you want to take care of this stuff at the company level, or do you want the officer to get involved when these conversations start happening? And where do you want the cutoff to be? As someone
like as far as politics goes, or
so we're talking about politics, but this can be like, at what point do you say, man, I wish my officer would get involved in this right now, or steer this thing, or cut it off and address it later? And we can use politics specifically. That's a big question, right? Do you want to see no politics in the station, or do you want to see?
So, I mean, this is how I look at it. I would not like politics at all in the station. Okay. I mean, I think that it's hard. In order to even be talking to someone and have a relationship with someone, I think politics can sometimes, it ruins relation. I mean, it just ruins it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard for me not to sit in front of somebody and hear some things and me question then now their character or their morals or their values. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, now like that I know that that's not lining up, I start hating that person or I start really disliking, that person just rubs me the wrong way now in all different directions. I think that it's hard for us to not make things that are non-political tie in to that kind of relationship.
Sure.
Once you know certain things or you hear certain things. So I think that right now, all of our crews need is to leave the politics out, probably not conversate on it, honestly, and just stay together and just focus on the job at hand versus anything else. Now, I know that can be a little hard if you're in, I don't know, maybe if you're with the crew that you're hanging out with even outside of the department. But yeah,
it is. It's difficult, but
I don't even know I love your question and I'm not even really sure how to answer it.
You can say no politics.
I just like, I would prefer no politics. I ask even my parents, I go, I have rules. So like I've already set boundaries with my parents with rules. And I said, there are things I don't want to talk about because it just honestly, as soon as I hear it, it feels like there's an elephant sitting on my chest and I'm going to blow up. Yeah. And that's politics, COVID, and like health problems, because I just feel like my every third day is filled with health, speaking of health things and stuff. And like the last thing I want to talk about when I am trying to have a normal life is like all the pessimistic stuff. I'm just trying to keep that away.
Yeah.
I don't know. No politics. I vote no.
That's fine. And that's where like it's important for the officers to keep a finger on the pulse here of what's going on, because the cost of discussing this stuff, and with any topic that someone is really vehemently against, is not worth the conversation.
No, it's not.
At work, right?
No, it's
like
not.
Us yelling at each other about whatever topic isn't worth alienating one member of your crew that you have to count on later. But I will tell you the saving grace for all this, the way to ignore the biggest pains that you have is for everybody to be good at their job, because then you have something you can fall back on, which in a medium-sized department like mine, we fall back on this frequently. I don't like the way that guy thinks. I don't like what he does or this and that about him, but at least I know that he's good at his job. Like, that's the common thing that we can go back on, right? Mm-hmm. So being good at your job is not only the saving grace, but it's also kind of the tie that bonds us all together with that thing.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, when stuff's getting hairy or you feel like something's coming on, go do some stuff, man. Get up, get off your phone, get away from that cesspool. I've had a real, not a watershed moment, but like, man, I deleted several apps off my phone in the past couple weeks. I'm like, this is just a sinkhole of garbage. Like, there's nothing good happening
absolutely
here. Get out and do stuff. Make your skills better, drill, do fun stuff that's with a job that's not political, that's independent of itself is the job. So go do that stuff.
Yep.
Rally around that and have a good time. Play dominoes. I don't know, man. We got other topics to talk about, though.
We sure do.
What was the second one? Oh, the big one.
The big topic.
Go ahead. This is your big thing.
Sleep.
I couldn't care less about it. I'm just joking.
Well, you're half joking.
I am half joking.
Sleep. So one of the guys that are doing the 14-ish, one of his things for it is 8-ish hours of sleep. That's his goal, which is great. Not feasible for me, unfortunately, or you. Mm-hmm. But I think he's in school, so he's able to. He's kind of on like a day. It seems like
and he's on days
like for a little bit, which is awesome. So we just want to talk about sleep today and kind of like how unfair it is.
Oh, wow.
A little bit unfair, but it's more just like a conversation. I think we all know the bad effects. I'm not going to go into,
we get it.
We all get it. We know it's is it class B carcinogen or something?
Whatever.
Now they're calling it. Yes, it does. It does cause cancer. It causes immune system dysfunction. It increases inflammation. You get hormonal disruptions, all that good stuff. Like we're not gonna focus on that. So I think that we need to more so talk about ways we can mitigate it.
Okay. Useful stuff.
Useful things.
Takeaways
from it. And then also let's talk a little bit too about these wearables, like these trackers, because I was having an issue. I mean, I've been having this issue also for 5 years because my husband wants to kill me. I've gone through every.
Is that the issue?
Well, that's part of the issue because are these things helping us or are they stressing us out?
Stressing us out.
I think they're stressing us out. I mean, personally.
Case closed.
It's
Next
stressing
topic.
me out.
Okay. Just kidding.
All right, so.
Stressing you out. I'll tell you why. Because it uses math, right?
Math.
One input, a bunch of stuff goes in, and a number comes out. The number's reflected in a score, a readiness score.
Sure. What are these algorithms?
Who knows, right? So, but that doesn't look at you. You'll treat the patient, not the monitor thing.
Right.
That's why I got away from the Whoop strap, and also I stopped wearing my Apple Watch because I think it's more. You brought up genetics when we were talking, before this thing. I think it's genetics and timing, man. And if you have interruptions in your sleep cycle overnight, but they're timed appropriately, every 90 minutes at the peak of a restless segment, you wake up, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go back to sleep, and every hour and a half you wake up. And it's timed correctly, you might feel okay. You might wake up and be like, I woke up a few times, but overall, I feel okay because you hit the important parts of the cycle and you got the allotted amount of time. The algorithm will look at that of your Whoop strap or whatever and say, you woke up 3 times, you were up for 12 minutes each time, 3 interruptions equals negative 25 points reflected in your readiness score, so that's the fact. If it doesn't look at you and say, oh, you know what, you got up 3 times, but it was just rollovers. That's an engine term. You heard that?
Never heard of it.
Yeah. So now then you're when you go to the engine, you got up for 2 rollovers last night.
I honestly
where the
can't
ambulance
complain.
goes out and you just roll over.
I haven't been on the ambulance in a few shifts.
It's awesome.
I go back tomorrow.
You have a few rollovers at night. And then you feel pretty good, but your strap says that like you should rest today, big time.
And then you're like, oh yeah, I should rest today.
You convince yourself that you're a bag of garbage all day long. And you either miss opportunities, you shortchange yourself,
or
you
it
don't take
just
advantage.
increases your garbage feeling. Like, let's say you wake and you're
too.
like, I feel pretty good. And then you look at it and it's like 10% recovery.
Shame. Yeah.
And then you're like,
No, you
oh,
don't.
Actually, I don't. You know what? I think that I don't. I don't think I do actually feel good. I also, I'm kind of nauseous.
Yeah. Or let's say you have a decent recovery score, right? And you're like, oh, great, I'm going to go work out.
And then you can't go
You
hard
feel
like
crap.
you want to. And
yeah,
you feel
you're
like
like,
crap.
This says I should be doing awesome.
This is wrong.
So I get it. I mean, I ditched it because after a while, it's like, what were you just going to tell me I'm tired? Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm tired. You're going to tell me I got up 4 times last night? I know that too.
Right.
You're going to tell me I need to breathe more? Got it.
So, and it's funny. So I ended up I bought a strap that both was able to connect. So like you could wear your Apple Watch and the Whoop. So the Whoop would be, or Whoop, sorry. I always say Whoop.
Yeah, weird.
Could be on like your wrist, and then the Apple Watch was on the top of the wrist. So interior, posterior, whatever.
It makes me just want to smash it is what it makes me do. Like people who wear a nice watch on one wrist and
I
have
was
a
like just
Fitbit on their other.
curious. I was just curious. And then the discrepancies were so insane.
Really?
Like the Whoop would say that I was at like Whoop 18,000 steps.
Good job.
And then the Apple Watch would be like, no, you're not. You're at
not good.
actually
6,000.
like 8. So it was crazy to me, and that would frustrate me even more. I've had an Oura ring. I've had, which is so crappy at steps. And I'll be honest, the only thing that for me is that I do enjoy couch rotting. And so I always wanted to make sure that my movement outside of shift was enough to balance me. And so really for me, it was steps, because I don't like looking at how bad I slept. If anything, it makes me angry, and it's not something I can control. So why do I need the data to tell me that?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, and then you can do these, like meditate, or you can do this. And it's like, I know what I can do. I know that.
Yeah.
So why do I need this wearable to tell me that when I know when I feel good, and I know when I'm doing the things that I can control that are going to make me, perform well? I know. So why do I need 5 wearables to tell me that?
I mean, you don't.
Exactly.
So what are some of the positives of a wearable then?
So like, I think that someone who is struggling with movement, right? Mm-hmm. I think that it can help them, right? So it's the same thing as like when people measure their body fat on these things where it's not accurate. However, you can still use it as like a trending thing,
Right.
like going up or down, whether it's if it's accurate or not. So I kind of feel like wearables can be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that you need to know and understand your personality, because if you have a personality like me, where you're just going to get stressed out about it and it's actually hindering you more than helping you, then probably don't have a wearable. If you're someone who can use it and it does motivate you, or it forces you to go on that walk you didn't want to go on, or if it helps you in that sense, absolutely use it. Like, I think that that's great. Maybe like, is it useful for firefighters? I think it's useful for data for studies if you're using it in that sense. But if you're just using it as a day-to-day thing to like track your recovery and stuff, it's probably not very useful, because how much of your life do you really actually have control of when you're on shift?
I think it's useful. So I wouldn't say that wearables are particularly useful for firefighters. I think some sort of tracking is useful for specific circumstances. Like if your Apple Watch can tell you just your resting heart rate, I think that's good, right? Ironically, we've had 2, maybe 3 guys pop into like SVT sitting around, and their Apple Watch was like, "You're about to die." And they're like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
So they checked that out. I've also worn, so like one of the sponsors was also that Fourth Frontier company that's a chest strap.
Yeah.
I like that one because I would wear it for training, and it has a lead to on there, so you could see like the trending, and if you had any like, PVCs, it would show those or something goofy. So I'd wear that at training. I would wear that sometimes like overnight when I was on the ambulance, just to see like what my heart rate did from sleeping to just getting a regular call. So I think in those isolated circumstances, it's useful, but just to know the same thing every day, I don't know.
So like, I mean, we all need a watch for work. I mean,
Watching a pen.
Well, unless you're not on an ambulance, I guess. Like you.
Or a good medic. All right, so can you, I mean, the answer is going to be obvious. Can you care too much about sleep?
Yes, you can care too much, but you should care a little bit.
Well, yeah.
And this is the thing too, is people's outside lives are very different. Like yours is very different than mine. You have young kids and a family, and I have
a family.
I have
And I have nothing.
I have nothing. I come home to an empty,
Got a tiny truck
lonely
and 2 dogs.
Yeah,
3 dogs.
seriously. Yeah, 3 dogs. I can come home and I can go to sleep. Some people can't do that. There's not a lot of, most people can't do that. So you have to, I think, find a structure, find something that you're able to maintain in order to get the best thing. However, I was someone who was super against, and I still am in certain things, the AI stuff.
Okay.
But
Where are we going with this?
I know. Just wait.
Okay.
So
I have to.
ChatGPT.
Oh my, where are we going?
ChatGPT.
Okay.
I'm shocked. So I ended up downloading it.
We're still talking about sleep?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is for sleep. This is how people can. This is the helping part.
Okay.
Okay, are we
We'll see.
on the same page?
No, we're not. I have no idea where you're
I'm sorry. Things. Okay. I ended up not looking up, but I asked it if there were ways to mitigate risks when you're a firefighter working 24 hours on and 48 hours off, or we always have an increased risk no matter what you do. So like basically, is this something we can control, or is this not something that we can control or mitigate impacts on and stuff like that? Because I think that you're so far, I don't care. Like I've
accepted it.
You are just so far, I don't care. I'm not even going to try to like necessarily mitigate anything.
Yeah, I'm actually
and then you
rebellious
have that
against
hardcore FOMO.
Oh, yeah.
And so you will just do that instead of worrying about.
I'll add another factor in altogether. There's times where the crew I'll have nothing going on after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like normal at work. And I'll choose to stay up
What's
till
wrong
like
with you?
11 o'clock.
Why?
Because that's one of the few choices I've made for myself in the past however many days.
You just don't want to sleep or what?
Well, here's the deal. When I'm home, the kids dictate my sleep because they both come in our room at least once a night. And it's getting better, but it's a long process. At work, you get told what to do and when you can eat, basically.
So it's a thing that you have control over.
It's basically my little grasp of control. So I'll choose to stay up and do nothing and watch stupid videos or watch something I don't care about. So I'll rebel against sleep because that's my little bit of control. And we see that, luckily, it's just as damaging as alcohol, but like other people do with booze or gambling or something where they're like, well, I'm inflicting this pain on myself, so I'm okay with it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum where I've not only accepted it, I'll rebel against it because it makes me feel a little bit in control sometimes.
So this is that risk-benefit thing.
I see enormous benefit.
Okay, but like, what means more to you, right?
Yeah.
That little grasp of control that makes you happy for an hour or 3 hours that you have control over you being up and doing whatever the heck you want.
I play it out longer than that. I look at the next day.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll go skate sometimes at midnight. Like there's a skate that happens that I go do like once every couple of months that starts at between 11:30 and 12 at night, playing hockey. And I'll say, I only do this once every couple of months. It's worth it because I know what we got going on tomorrow. It's worth it for me to feel tired tomorrow that I get to do this tonight. And I have no regrets about it. Driving there is miserable.
Oh, I'm sure.
I want to turn around every 10 feet. But getting there and then playing and then doing it, I'm always like, I'm glad I did that. Other people, that's completely out of the question. But me, I'm like, well, I've lost a lot of sleep. I'll make it up later. Well,
right.
I've been tired before. What's really the big deal? Yeah. So that's worth it for me because I've seen the other side of it and I'm okay. Like I'm surviving. So
for
I'm
now.
Like, whatever, man. It's
You're
all
not 40 yet.
I might be singing a different tune next week.
No, I know. And that's the thing, though, is while I appreciate and understand the importance of it, it's so hard just because now what are you compromising just to make sure you're mitigating all the things that are reducing it, but like also no promises, right? Because we're all so genetically different. So it's like, I feel terrible for my husband. My husband, he wants to go out and he wants to go do stuff. And
Right.
I'm like, nope, gotta sleep. Sorry.
Right.
I don't want to get cancer. Or I'm like,
Yeah.
how serious
I get it.
is it okay to take or whatever? But anyway,
I'm not saying it's not
there's
short-sighted or misguided.
No,
I'm just saying
no.
that works in my brain. My brain parts can jive with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is hard. And then, I do think about too, because like starting a family and stuff. Also, if I feel this way now, what is going to happen?
Nothing. It all goes up, man. It won't be worse.
I feel like it would be.
It's more the same. No, because that's why people have more than one kid. They think that one kid is impossible. That's why you have 3 dogs. When you got one dog, you're like, holy crap, there's a lot to do, and this house is a disaster. And then you got another dog, and you're like, well, it's a little more messy, but you get into a cruising altitude with 1. Then you get into a cruising altitude with 2, and you're like,
well, I'm not at the cruising altitude with 3.
Might as well grab a third. But years ago, you've been like, 1's too much. I can't handle 1. But now you're like, I'll do that, and I'll have a full-time job, and I'll do this podcast thing, and I'll pile a bunch of crap on top, and I'll coach at 2 different gyms. So when you look at it in aggregate, you're like, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
you look at in isolation, you're like, how could you possibly add one more thing onto this? You just write.
And it's so funny because then you still do add stuff on for God knows what reason. But like I said, we talked about this a little bit prior to, like you asked me, so what is getting you, you didn't sleep. So what's getting you up to come here and do this podcast?
We didn't release that episode.
Our episode.
We didn't release that one.
We didn't?
No.
Oh, no.
That one got scrapped because we were in a loud place.
Oh, man. Okay, well, never mind. Well,
FOMO.
Basically, yeah. So Chris asked me.
We're at 40 minutes, too.
Oh,
36
crap.
minutes.
Oh, we got to stop.
Do you want to keep going?
No. Well, okay. Before we end this,
Okay.
we can share all the other stuff for another episode. But
Okay.
with the ending of this, ultimately, whether or not how much you care and what you want to do with sleep is up to you. Okay. It's, I think, a risk-benefit balance thing that you have to choose. What makes you happy? Is it going to be you getting that sleep, or is it going to be you going out, doing something with your family, a friend, something like that on low sleep that you're going to rather have or do, instead of getting your 90-minute nap in to feel recharged. Mm-hmm. So ChatGPT, I just want to share this really quick.
Sorry,
I know this is so fun, and I know this is ridiculous, but honestly, I was shocked and impressed by this because of the question I had asked was, are there ways to mitigate the risks when you work a 24-hour on, 48 hours off, or we always have increased risk no matter what? And it basically said, because of the 24-hour shifts that they risk the sleep-related health problems, but there are ways to mitigate it, and you can't fully eliminate them. You can reduce negative effects.
Okay.
So then it was like, would you like a recovery plan for your shift and off-shift days? And I was like, yes.
Okay.
And so this is what it says. Number 1 is to maximize sleep quality on off days. So you have to stick to a consistent sleep schedule on your rest days. And it says to try to get 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep in a cool, dark room. So use blackout curtains and avoid caffeine 6 hours before bedtime.
Okay.
Optimize sleep during your 24-hour shift. And I was like, well, how the heck do you do that? And then they were just saying that, take advantage of any opportunity to nap, even if it's like a short 20 to 90 minute.
Okay.
And then if you have a break, aim for a, quote, core sleep period of at least 3 to 4 hours to maintain cognitive function, and then keep your sleeping area dark and cool and use earplugs if needed. Now, if you are one of those psychopaths that can sleep through tones, which you are a psychopath that you can do that, probably don't do the earplugs.
Yeah.
Manage light exposure for circadian rhythm. So limit your blue light. Duh, everyone knows this. Get bright sunlight exposure in the morning to reset your clock. Boring. On shift days, if you need to sleep in the afternoon or evening, wear sunglasses when you're driving home to prevent the excessive light exposure. Basically, it's because it increases. Well, exactly. You throw on your frontline optics.
The whole point was just a commercial. Are you kidding me? God,
oh my gosh,
so slimy.
I know. I'm like, I always complain about that.
But it is 15% off.
It is true. Oh yeah,
it is 15% off.
Yeah, that's a lot. Support your hormonal and metabolic health. So melatonin supplements can help regulate your circadian rhythm, but don't get dependent on them. So you don't want to use them a lot. And then eat rich with protein, healthy fats, blah, blah,
limit
blah.
alcohol.
Stay hydrated. We all freaking know this stuff. Reduce long-term inflammation and stress for cold exposure.
Okay. All right. You lost me.
I know.
Cold
Why did they
exposure.
say
All
that?
right, well, I'm happy
Sauna
with most of
use,
it. There you go.
exercise.
I endorse that one.
Have you heard of caffeine nap?
Yeah.
Yeah, they say to do that too. A nappuccino?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it comes up with a whole recovery plan, and it's really cool.
Yeah. Sounds like too much. Sounds like you should just gut it out and
No, I'm going to actually
drink
post
more
it.
coffee,
So
figure
I'm
it
going to
out.
post it.
Find something that you care more about than being sleepy.
He's just being annoying to me.
Do it. Just do it. All right. Wrap it up. So I think this is a good show to put the disclaimer on. I would say it's about...
Disclaimer, it is all over the place.
Disclaimer is like, this is 10% educational. I think what I like about
kinda
these
just,
episodes is hopefully someone's like, yeah, dude, I think hopefully some people are like, yeah, I agree with Angie. We should care more about stuff. And then some people are like, I agree with Chris. We should just shut up and figure something else out.
Well, that's
cool
why we
like
do
to
this.
And then they're like, oh, and I can learn about something maybe for like 3.5 seconds before they try to sell me sunglasses.
I think they just realize that we are just like them. Maybe worse. Ew, I did that laugh again.
Keep it. I see it right there. There's a big
It's
spike
like,
right there.
spike.
It is.
All
right,
Okay.
do the sign out thing.
All right. What's our sign out?
You.
Stay sharp, guys.
Oh, jeez.
Thanks for listening.
Okay.